Welcome to the stories on Echoes of Revenge. Step into a world where love turns dangerous, revenge feels inevitable, and every story drags you deeper into the shadows of desire, betrayal, and the human heart. Let's begin today's story. The duplex on Maple Street was mine. Solely, completely, legally mine. I'd bought it at 23 with my own down payment, my own mortgage, my own sweat equity repairing the foundation. The deed had one name on it. Mine. But for 5 years my parents had been collecting the rent checks. It started reasonably enough. "We'll manage it for you," Mom had offered when I bought the property fresh out of college. "You're busy with your career. We'll handle the tenants, collect rent, deal with repairs." Family helping family. I was 23 working 80-hour weeks at my first real job, and it sounded reasonable. They'd deposit the $3,200 monthly rent into my account, minus whatever they spent on maintenance. Except the deposits got inconsistent. Then they stopped entirely. "The property needs so much work," Dad would say. "New roof, plumbing issues, tenant turnover. The costs eat everything. You should be grateful we're managing this burden." Burden. That word appeared frequently. As if my investment property, the one I'd saved $40,000 to purchase, was somehow their charitable project. At family dinners they'd complain about our rental headaches to relatives. Uncle Jim would nod sympathetically. "Property management is tough. Good thing you're helping her out." Helping me out. With my own building. I started asking for accounting. Spreadsheets. Receipts. "You don't trust us?" Mom's voice would crack with manufactured hurt. "After everything we do? Managing your property, dealing with your tenants, your problems." My problems. My property. Their complaints. The gambler's fallacy gripped me for years. If I just asked nicely enough, trusted completely enough, proved I wasn't ungrateful enough, eventually they'd treat me like the actual owner. But they didn't want me to be the owner. They wanted me to feel like the recipient of their generosity while they controlled everything. Last April I requested my password for the property management portal. They'd set it up years ago, never gave me access. "We'll send it," Dad promised. He didn't. So I called the property management company directly. "I'm the owner of the Maple Street duplex. I need to reset my portal access." The property manager hesitated. "We don't have you listed as owner in our system. Your parents are listed as the primary contacts and, oh, here we go. They're listed as owners." My stomach went cold. "Pull the actual deed." She did. 45 seconds of keyboard clicking. "You're correct. Deed shows sole ownership under your name. But your parents listed themselves as owners when they set up the account. They've been receiving all deposits directly." "How much monthly?" $3,200. Both units, $1,600 each. "For how long?" 5 years. Since 2019. I did the math while still on the phone. $3,200 monthly. 12 months. 5 years. $192,000. They'd collected $192,000 from my property. I'd seen maybe $15,000 total, explained away as, "what's left after expenses." I thanked the property manager and asked for every deposit record, every expense claim, every communication. Everything. Then I called a forensic accountant. Janet Chin had 20 years of experience untangling family financial fraud. I sat in her office with 5 years of bank statements, theirs and mine, plus the property management records. "They've been depositing your rental income into their personal account," Janet said, highlighting line after line. "Every month. $3,200. They're also claiming these deposits as rental income on their tax returns." She pulled up their tax returns. I'd gotten copies through their accountant's portal. They'd made me a co-signer years ago for estate planning purposes, which meant I could access everything. "Here." Janet pointed. "Schedule East rental real estate income. They're reporting $38,400 annually. That's your property's income. But they don't own it." "Correct. They're claiming rental income from property they don't own, taking depreciation deductions on property they didn't purchase, and deducting expenses they may or may not have actually paid. The IRS considers this fraud." The ghost ledger lived in my chest, not on paper. Every family dinner where Dad complained about managing the property, while I felt guilty for not being more grateful, That was while they collected $38,400 annually from my asset. Every Christmas when Mom gave me a generous $1,000 check to help with your expenses, since the rental doesn't make money. That was while they'd collected $192,000 total from my building. The emotional accounting was brutal. 5 years of feeling like the family burden. 5 years of being told I was lucky they managed my problematic investment. 5 years of feeling financially incompetent while they committed tax fraud with my property. The confidence erosion hit deeper than the money. They'd made me doubt my own judgment. Maybe I'm not ready to manage property, I'd thought at 25. Maybe I'm too inexperienced, too irresponsible. Meanwhile, they were running a long-term embezzlement scheme while filing false tax returns. Janet looked up from the documents. The IRS needs to know. They're claiming income from property they don't own. That's not a gray area. That's federal tax fraud. I thought about letting it go. Family is complicated. Maybe we could work it out privately. They could return the money, we'd move on, nobody else would know. Then I remembered last Thanksgiving. Dad had toasted to family businesses while looking at me. Some of us understand responsibility. Real investment. Not everyone gets it. Uncle Jim had laughed. Aunt Sarah had nodded. They thought I was the family failure while Dad collected $3,200 monthly from my property. I sent everything to the IRS. The audit letter arrived at their house 6 weeks later. Certified mail, IRS Criminal Investigation Division. Mom called me crying. There's been some mistake. The IRS thinks we committed fraud. With rental property. We don't even own rental property. You reported $38,400 annually in rental income for 5 years, I said calmly. Schedule East rental real estate income and expenses. Line 3. Silence. That's my property, Mom. The Maple Street duplex. Sole ownership. My name on the deed. My mortgage. My down payment. Remember. That's family property, she whispered. We were managing it for you. Managing means collecting rent and depositing it into my account. Not collecting it into yours and claiming it as your income on federal tax returns. Dad grabbed the phone. You reported us, your own parents, to the IRS. You committed tax fraud using my property. For 5 years. $192,000 in rental income you claimed as yours. I didn't report anything. I just sent them the facts, ownership documents, deposit records, and your tax returns claiming income from property you don't own. The IRS investigation was methodical. An agent named Robert Martinez interviewed me first. 45 years old, 20 years with Criminal Investigation Division, he'd seen every family fraud variation. Walk me through the property acquisition, he said. I did. My down payment. My mortgage approval. My sole name on the deed. My credit, my risk, my asset. And your parents' involvement? They offered to manage it. Collect rent, coordinate repairs, handle tenant issues. I was 23, working constantly. It seemed helpful. When did you discover the misappropriation? Last April. I requested portal access. The property management company had them listed as owners. Robert made notes. They've been reporting this income for 5 years. Taking depreciation deductions. Claiming expenses. The IRS has paid them tax refunds based on losses they claimed on your property. It got worse. They'd claimed $47,000 in rental property losses over 5 years. Negative income from expenses exceeding rent. These losses reduced their other taxable income. They'd received roughly $12,000 in tax refunds they shouldn't have gotten. They hadn't just stolen my rental income. They'd used my property to commit tax fraud that gave them government money. Robert interviewed my parents next. They tried explaining it was family property, and they were helping me manage it. He asked for documentation showing co-ownership. They had none. He asked for any written agreement giving them authority to claim the income. They had none. Their accountant, Richard Sterling, got interviewed separately. He'd prepared their returns for 8 years. They told me they owned rental property, Richard said. They provided income and expense documentation. I prepared returns based on information provided. Did you verify ownership? Robert asked. They're long-term clients. I trusted their representations. Did you see a deed? Pause. No. The IRS findings came 4 months later. Tax fraud. $38,400 annually claimed from property they didn't own. 5 years. $192,000 total fraudulent income reporting. False depreciation deductions. $35,000. False expense claims. $47,000. Tax refunds received fraudulently. $12,000. Total federal tax liability. $54,000 in back taxes, $48,000 in penalties, $22,000 in interest. $124,000 total. Criminal Investigation Division referred the case to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Federal prosecutors reviewed for potential charges: wire fraud, tax fraud, filing false returns. My parents hired a criminal defense attorney. The retainer alone was $35,000. Their savings, built partially from my rental income, started evaporating. Richard Sterling, their accountant, got investigated separately. The IRS suspended his preparer license pending review. His malpractice insurance carrier opened a claim file. His professional liability was now tied to my parents' fraud. The property management company terminated their account immediately. I took over direct management. The tenants had been reliable the whole time. My parents just hadn't been forwarding my income. The family fracture happened fast. Uncle Jim called me. Your parents said there was a misunderstanding about property management. They claimed $192,000 of my rental income as theirs on their tax returns, I said. For 5 years. That's not a misunderstanding. That's federal tax fraud. Uncle Jim was quiet. Then, Jesus. I thought, they said it was a clerical error. It's a 5-year pattern of claiming income from property they don't own while telling me the property doesn't make money. Aunt Sarah called next. Then Cousin Michael. The truth spread through the family like water finding cracks. Each conversation ended the same way. Stunned silence, then questions about how they could help me. My parents were excluded from Thanksgiving. Uncle Jim hosted instead. 32 family members attended. My parents weren't invited. The U.S. attorney offered a plea deal. Plead guilty to filing false returns, agree to full restitution, accept probation and community service, or face trial on multiple felony counts. They took the plea. The allocution hearing was brief. They stood before a federal judge and admitted filing false tax returns for 5 years, claiming income from property they didn't own. They paid $124,000 to the IRS. They paid me $177,000. The $192,000 they'd collected minus the $15,000 they'd actually given me. They sold their house to cover it. 1 year later, I manage my property directly. The income deposits into my account. All $3,200 monthly. I've saved $38,000 beyond that. I'm looking at a second property. My parents live in a small apartment. Dad works part-time at 67. Mom works retail. They're still paying off their legal fees. Last month, the property management company called. One of your tenants wants to renew their lease for another 3 years. They said they've never had better landlords than when you took over direct management. I smiled. My parents had told me for 5 years I wasn't capable of managing property. That I needed their help. That I should be grateful. Turns out I was always capable. I just needed them to stop stealing from me first. The accountant, Richard Sterling, got his license permanently revoked last week. 8 years of client relationships gone. His insurance settled the malpractice claim. He's looking for work outside tax preparation. I don't feel guilty. I feel free. They gambled that family loyalty meant I'd never verify their claims. They lost. And the IRS collected every cent they'd tried to steal from both of us. Me and the federal government.